While the FIFA World Cup 2022 is beset with some controversies, back here in India, there has been a massive development. Yes, match fixing scandal has suddenly rocked the Indian football scene. Why? Because very recently, the CBI officials visited the AIFF headquarters and they are investigating several match fixing allegations. Now, this comes at a grave time when the AIFF was about to be reformed totally. See, the COA got disbanded in the AIFF. That is why political interference was removed and you had new elections. After that, only after the AIFF got revamped was the FIFA Under-17 World Cup allowed to be hosted by India. But now they are dealing with a separate issue altogether, which is called match fixing. And the rot actually runs deep. But why has the CBI acted now? Because they have gotten a tip. The tip is that a notorious international fixer invested huge amount of money in several leagues in India. And this has meant that Indian football clubs have been funded by this international match fixer through shell companies. Now, you all may ask, who are the teams and what is a shell company? I'll come to the teams later, but I will tell you what is a shell company. A shell company is an inactive company used as a vehicle for various financial maneuvers. That various financial maneuvers can also include tax evasion. Normally, when tax evasion or any other kind of things happen, you normally hear the name shell company. Well, this shell company is an inactive or a superficial entity that has been created so that all the black money can be rerouted through that entity, and tracing it can be nearly impossible. Now you will ask, who is this notorious match fixer and what are the teams involved and how deep is the rot? Well, this is the noted match fixer who has been in the news now, Wilson Raj Perumal. Now, this is not the first instance that Wilson Raj Perumal has been under the scanner. He was arrested in 1995 for match fixing, has been convicted in Hungary and Singapore, and casually in one interview that he did about 7 years ago, he said, I think I might have fixed about 80 to 90 matches in football alone, but he is not sure even that count because he's lost count. Such is the audacity of the fixer, and that is the reason why the CBI has taken cognizance of it. Now he has invested through these clubs via a shell company called Living 3D Holdings Limited. Living 3D Holdings is the shell company and through which all his money has been rerouted, and that is why the CBI has gotten whiff of it. Now, just to understand the magnitude of how Wilson Raj Perumal has actually rigged games, his system of match fixing is at many levels, not just in the Indian League if you have to look at it. Olympics, Africa Cup of Nations, CONCACAF Gold Cup and Women's World Cup also. And in the interview that he did about 7 years ago, he clearly mentioned FIFA still has no mechanism to combat match fixing. That is a very scary proposition indeed. Because if FIFA still has no mechanism in place to curb match fixing, how do you stop the rot? Well, the rot in India actually runs a whole lot deeper. Because there are 5 clubs that are under the scanner and all 5 have played in the I-League, and one of the names that has been mentioned clearly is India Arrows. Remember, India Arrows was one of the developmental sides that were playing in the I-League, which is now unfortunately in the 2nd tier. The ISL is now the top tier. But Indian Arrows getting implicated in this is a very strange thing. Why is that? Arrows themselves were funded by the AIFF and the Odisha government. The AIFF pet team was the Indian Arrows. It is also now a defunct club. Indian Arrows does not exist anymore. So how could their name come in the first place? They did not have any foreign staff or players. So the suspicion now is that maybe one of the technical staff members in the Indian Arrows might have been a liaison for all the match fixing activity that was going on. So this has now raised an even bigger issue as to how deep the rot is. You just have to look at the Goa Football Administration, and according to the report that was done by the Times of India, it clearly stated that the Goa Pro League has been plagued by fixing for 3 years now. And also you have to remember, the I-League and the ISL were all played in one particular venue in a bio bubble during the coronavirus pandemic. So fixing apparently is rampant in the Goa Football Administration, and 6 games in a period from February to March of 2022 were all red flagged because of suspicious match fixing activity. And the rot is so deep in the Goa Football Administration as well as in the games held in the Goa FA that 1 out of 5 games in the league is under suspicion. That is how it has been deeply entrenched. You've seen how through a defunct club, a shell company has been investing so that match fixing can take place. And now here in the Goa Pro League, because Goa, remember, has produced several great teams in the Indian domestic system. You look at Dempo, you look at Salgaonkar, you look at Churchill Brothers, and even in the ISL you look at it, FC Goa. So because of that, the rot that is in Goa is very, very frightening actually. These are very dangerous signs for India. Why is that? Because according to several match fixing monitors and those who monitor these patterns, they say this is currently the period that we are now in has seen the highest rate of fixing throughout the world. So now match fixers are getting really, really bold. And now what is the CBI going to do? They have asked for all the contracts, all the sponsor and agency details, because a player goes through a contract system, and some players, if they are overseas, they are acquired through agencies. Every single paperwork has now been asked for, and this is probably the first step, but the rot runs really, really deep. We are probably seeing the tip of the iceberg. The iceberg is much deeper. So these are very challenging times for the new AIFF regime in place. Remember, this just happened. The new administration has been in charge for only a couple of months now. And now they are faced with this enormous task of having to wipe out match fixing. How will they do it? It remains to be a logistical challenge. But we hope that some results come out of this and match fixing is absolutely stopped at every level. So thank you so much folks for joining us for this live. We'll be back with more updates from sports today. Press the like, comment and share button. We are also there on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Thank you.